I'm basically going to talk about some of the things that we've been seeing in our urban forests. I always like to start out with something. I posted that once, and Jim Downer thought that that was more profound than it really appears. So, quite often we don't see what's going on with the roots of a tree, and a lot of problems can be there. So the city of Los Angeles, where you sit and where I work, is about 500 square miles. We have 15 council districts. We run from San Pedro to the Palisades, out to Chatsworth, to Tujunga, to Eagle Rock, and everywhere in between. We have lots of different microclimates. It's the second most populous city in the country, the historical home of the Chumash and Tongva, and it was claimed in 1542 for Spain. Now my department has this is a screenshot from our little inventory. So, each one of those is one of our sites. We have about 17,000 acres of parkland, 464 parks, 184 recreation centers. We have beaches, day camps, senior centers. We had the first universal access playground in the country. We run some really great programs, and again, have tree. We have one of the most diverse urban forests in the country. When we did our inventory, we had over 460 named species, but unfortunately, like most urban forests, 90% of our trees fall into about 10 species of trees, and probably the same as many cities. Many of those specimens are just one-offs, one here, maybe two here. But it's still nice to know that we have quite a diverse urban forest. We sit in what I call the perfect storm. Many of the, we've had problems in the past like the lerp psyllid, but we've never seen something like this. So many attacks, and so devastating at the same time with the shot-hole borer, Xylella. We saw an uptick in bot rot with the drought, the Botchopharia canker on the ficus, or the sooty canker. It's got a number of different names, and thing that's bothering me quite a bit are the mites on deodar cedars. These are some op-ed titles from about 3 years ago. A Keith Escalin said up to 38% of the trees in Southern California can die. So we're sitting in, it's a really difficult time to be a tree in Los Angeles. And if you care about trees, it's really heartbreaking. So the shot-hole borer was first misidentified in 2003 as the T shot-hole borer. It was found in Whittier Narrows. In 2010, it started killing a lot of the box elder trees in Long Beach. Box elder seemed to be the first thing that went fast. I don't think there's a box elder left in Southern California, or at least in the Los Angeles area. And then it was identified on a backyard avocado tree in 2012. We started seeing it in our parks in about 2015, and when we started noticing it everywhere. It was in every little corner of the city, but it wasn't everywhere. There'd be large pockets where it wasn't, and areas where it was a few strikes, and then areas where the whole park, where you'd see quite a bit of devastation on a lot of different trees. And we started I'm going to leave some of the background information. I don't have much time, so if you guys don't know about shot-hole borer, it's really easy to get the information on Escalin's website as well as other places. So this was a box elder in Echo Park, so again, a lot of the background information. We're up to 64 breeding hosts, and a breeding host is a tree that the beetle can successfully breed in and have brood after brood after brood. And the Fusarium complex, up about 130 trees that aren't necessarily a breeding host but can die from it. like many diseases, and disease insect complexes, our knowledge of it and what we're seeing kind of changes over time. And so some of the information is, is subject to change and may have changed, so I'll leave it to the experts to correct me if I'm wrong as well. And the symptoms are different from host to host as well. So, this would be what you would classically see on an albizia. Then you sometimes just get some staining. On a jacaranda, you're not going to have anything but the entry holes. There's no bleeding, there's no oozing, and so it's a little bit more difficult to actually identify on that. This is a classic sugar volcano on avocado. Hence, we're glad it hit avocado because it's where all the funding money came from initially. And we're glad that it's not really killing them in large numbers because we love avocados. And then, so the species, hits a lot of the natives, and there's trees that are killed by the fusarium. Then Akif's got a list of ones that just have branch dieback. My experience is that the London plane actually dies from it. We've lost London planes in really large amount of numbers in our parks. So that's just, again, it's so the trees are basically, the beetles are usually basically using the trees as they're ranching the tree for growing their fungus, and that's what the offspring eat. And this is really an unusual beetle in that it goes really deep into the tree. And so even if the tree is not dead, you're going to find large branches. So this is a green, healthy sycamore in the Coinga Pass. And, we lost a large branch off of it. You can, see the beetles deep into it. This was a park, Betty Davis. It's on the north side of Griffith Park, on the north side of the 134 freeway. This is what it looked like in 2008, and this is what it looked like in 2017. And these trees are no longer there. So it's been devastating for us. So we're seeing also still a lot of Xylella fastidiosa. It's one of the most important bacterial diseases on trees. The bacteria clogs the vascular system, restricting the water uptake, and its common name is a bacterial leaf scorch. So the leaves start to brown and scorch as if it was salt damage or a drought type of wilt. It's been in California a really long time, but what happened is we got a invasive pest. It's really bad in Italy right now too. Now I cannot get a consensus among the plant pathologists as to what a consensus on the species list of what trees are really being hit, what are not. Olives are some say that it's pathogenic in olives, some say here in Southern California, and some say it's not. There was this guy, Wong at UC Riverside. He got a position with Bayer and left, but some of his research, he had a lot of plants on there that some people say not, like magnolia, ginkgo, as well as others. It was called Pierce's disease on grapevines, and then what happened is we got this puppy right here. It's a glassy-winged sharpshooter. It's from the southeast of the United States. This is our native blue-green. So the blue-green was able to spread it into some woody perennials, but nothing like a large tree. So it would spread it onto the grapevines. Then this guy was able to put it in a lot larger specimen, thicker wood. And so we're seeing it on a lot of liquid ambers. It might be on the Victorian box. I think it gets into ginkgo, but it doesn't necessarily kill it. I think it just causes it to wilt near the end of the season. I've been noticing that quite a bit where the ginkgo doesn't get its beautiful golden color. It will start to get a marginal burn late summer and kind of wilt away. No, I have no lab work on this, so it's just something I'm assuming, or extrapolating from what I see season in, season out. But liquid ambers, we know it's been identified in, and you're gonna first see this wilting of the leaves, and then the tree will die. It's hard on this picture, but basically it's going to hold on to the leaves. And so if you see a liquid amber die back and wilt, and it's holding its foliage, it's in Southern California right now, it's probably a good sign that it's got xylella. And then the tree will continue to slowly decline. And then here you have large specimens that are going. This is Laurel Grove Park in the valley. And we've lost a lot of liquid ambers to it. We started seeing a lot of different bot rot, and especially also on liquid ambers. It's a group of species under the Botrosphaeria canker, and they kind of group them all together under a bot rot heading. You'll get a sunken area of necrotic tissue. Sometimes you get oozing and bleeding associated with it. It's exacerbated by the drought. It can be slower or faster depending on the host, depending on the actual specific species of Botrosphaeria. Now, there's also a Botrosphaeria canker associated with the Indian ficus microcarpa and the Indian laurel fig. And they're saying that it's currently affecting about 25% of the ficus in Southern California. Could kill a 60 to 70 foot tall tree in about 3 years. It's also called, it was called ficus branch dieback. It's called sooty canker. It's a complex of probably 5 different fungi. Some are Botrosphaeria. One was identified initially as a, what was it, Natracea, but that's been reclassified since. So these pictures are from Jim Downer, so I stole them from him. So he had much better samples. So give him credit where credit's due. This is a city in street in Santa Monica. You can see how it's spreading through, and it seems to be the coastal communities. It seems to be hitting a lot harder and quicker. Lakewood has got a lot of loss, and you can see how it causes necrotic tissue inside the branch. And he's saying here that the branch collar is slowing the spread of the fungus in, but it will ultimately kill the whole tree. This is one of my pet peeves right now, which is mites on the deodar cedar. It's been around for about 10 years. I started noticing it thinning out deodars, and then it started increasing, and we started getting trees to die back. It's an area-fitted mite. So I've got this information. John Kabashima hooked me up with Chul Payak, who's at Disney, and he had Dr. Ron Ochoa with the USDA out of DC identify it as a, they had it at least last year as a triceratops, triceratops. Can someone say that for me? No? Anyway, so basically they had the family and the genus, and it's a really small mite. They've been working at Disney with this Jose Rodriguez from Waypoint Analytica, and they've been trying a product, trade name Judo, and it reduces the population, but the timing of the application is real important. They found that midday was the best, and they've tried a couple of species of predatory mites, and not too much avail. And they're just amazing trees. The only thing that used to really kill them was armillaria, which still does, but it was a kind of a bulletproof tree that we could plant in lots of different situations and mature into this just statuesque trees. But now you can start seeing it thin the trees, and then they eventually die. This is the grove at Lake Balboa. And it's just devastating. And you can see it first starts off with needle browning as the mite does its damage. The deodorants will push out new growth in the spring, and then they'll start to brown out. And eventually, after the resources are tapped long enough, they'll die. You've got a lot on Las Vegas Boulevard that have been dying over the last few years. And then these are some of the other things we're seeing. Pine bark beetle is still a problem. The trees that were affected by the drought are still dying. We're seeing something unusual with ash trees. I don't know what it is, but our chamois ash, which was also a bulletproof tree, are thinning. They're also, in some situations, dying as well. Blue gums, different cultural conditions, different areas. Southern mags and Victorian box, coast redwood, it's just proving not to be the right tree for Southern California anymore. And of course, there's always some various palm pests and diseases. We haven't got the South American palm weevil, but it will be coming to a neighborhood near you soon. Hopefully not the gold-spotted oak borer as well, but that's something to keep in mind that it's probably coming as well. So here you have some Canary Islands that are drought-stricken, and they start to die from the top down. This is in Boys Camp in Griffith Park. And then Aleppo pines, they start off with just a thinning and then a flagging of a branch, not necessarily at the top. And we're losing quite a bit. We're losing stone pines to a lesser extent, but also a lot of Aleppos going right now. Then the blue gum eucalyptus, again, different age classifications, different microclimates, different cultural conditions. So all throughout our park system. Of course, they've had the tortoise beetle for quite a while, Latiparus, and then we're also seeing the longhorn beetle, but not on every tree that dies. So I think it might be the time that the eucalyptus tortoise beetle is catching up with the trees. The lerp psyllid defoliated the trees really quickly. So the tree would get defoliated, leaf out, get defoliated, leaf out, get completely defoliated, tap the resources of the eucalyptus when that hit, and we had a large die-off pretty quickly. I'm thinking that just kind of a lot of things stressing out the blue gums and causing them to die. We have large ones. This is just one park here, North Hollywood, where you have a lot of large, and of course you have the tortoise beetle right here. Nice broad galleries and pretty large entry holes. It's a pretty classic, easy to identify on the eucalyptus. Pittosporum undulatum, it's not just dieback on them, the whole trees are dying, and that's been going on for about a decade. Some have surmised that it's the Xylella. Xylella it does exist on a list from UC Berkeley from like the 80s. That's where they inoculated the trees, so it's not necessarily being spread by the current vector that we have here. And Xylella hits different trees in different regions of the country, so it really depends upon the vector that's spreading it. And then again, it'll start with a wilting and then a browning, and then you'll get a thinning, and then you'll loss of the tree. So again, I like to leave a positive note, which is, healthy trees, healthy people. A lot of social science research has, made the connection to how trees are beneficial to people. So Jeffrey Donovan from U.S. Forest Service did a study on the emerald ash borer. He went back 10 years before the introduction of the beetle and 10 years after, and looked at cardiovascular disease and respiratory disease, and he could attribute like 23,000 more deaths since the introduction of the beetle in the area he was looking, which I think was Michigan. Patients that have a view of greenery out their window versus a brick wall heal quicker. Healthy trees and green spaces reduces stress and anxiety. It helps us with our mental and physical well-being. Where there's trees, people are more active, they're more likely to exercise. Trees lead to a reduction in crime. They help students remember their information. They learn quicker and retain the knowledge better. And this is actually a really good video called Trees of All Trade. More about urban forests and urban forest master plan and the type of stuff you can learn from it. But it's put out by the city of Halifax. So I recommend you guys go on YouTube and watch this one. And you know, they do forest bathing in Japan. Again, it's proven to you know, increase the well-being and lower anxiety and heart rate and stress. And
they do it here too.
What's that?
I said they do it here too on the forest. Yeah.
Yes, it has spread here, and you know, where you have forests, it's a good place. But here in Los Angeles, are they doing it here?
We did one of the state historic park.
Yes.
They're starting to do the walks.
Oh, that's
there.
really cool.
That's
And
what
then-
that's what it is.
Yeah.
Good to know. And then what makes a healthy urban forest? You know, again, we like to say that arboriculture begins in the nursery. And if you're not planting good quality trees, you're not giving, you're not starting off with your ability to have a healthy tree. You're not going to take an unhealthy tree and really make it healthy by putting it in the ground. It's better to only stay with you know, good nursery stock, and it's hard to find nowadays, unfortunately. Right tree, right place. Biodiversity. Now this is kind of an interesting term. It's been kind of usurped by conservation biology, which I think is really good. I think that we need to preserve any species that we have right now. But I run across people in some of our parks that want to remove mature trees because they're not native. And right now, what we really do know is that a mature tree gives you exponential more benefits than a young tree. And it's we're in a time right now where we can't afford to remove healthy trees. You know, whether they're native or not native, whether they're invasive or not. Really, it's a crucial time. We need things that are photosynthesizing, cleaning the air, and transpiring and cooling the environment. So that's my little opinion. My not so humble opinion. I don't think any of my opinions are humble. We need good political will. We lack political will here in Los Angeles. We pay a lot of lip service from our politicians, but there's no investment behind it. And you get at least $6 return on every dollar you invest in the urban forest. So thank you.